Welcome, stranger. This is the first video in a new series called My Classroom Videos. Some of my videos are to entertain, like a vlog journey, and some are made to show you how to do certain maintenance or service on particular cameras, DIY, but they don't teach. This series is for teaching. It's a series of still images or slides. And I go to a slide and I point out different things, explain what they do and where they're located, and et cetera, et cetera. And I may even do this one's on the FM, I may do another FM in the future and explain more. But each time as you go through it, you'll pick up a few points as to where things are located and what they do. And this will, of course, be on future models will be different. And it's really a classroom situation where it's not really made to entertain but to teach. And it will show you what's inside these cameras that possibly you're servicing. I don't know what camera you're working on or own, but that's the purpose of this series, is to basically teach. So anyway, let's get started. Here we go. This is the first image for this video, which is for teaching, classroom. As you can see, the complete camera here is laid out. There's your body. Over here is your mirror cage. Down here we've got our bottom plate, top plate. Get rid of those. And up here at the top, we've got our tray with all our parts on it. And when we're just assembling it, like right over here is the advanced lever. Right over here is the speed control. This also is part of the speed control. So it's all, and we could use this for teaching, except that I took pictures of all of these and other images, and where it'll be large and close up and it'll have more detail. So we won't be using this image here. The only part here that we'll be using is over here on the what I'm showing you on the yellow. And the reason is because I forgot to take an image of it. This is your circuit for your exposure circuit. And this right here, the detail's not very good, but that's an eyepiece. And then, of course, here's your circuit board here. And right here you can see a screw holds that bracket in it. If you look right here, you'll see a bunch of like little wires, or I don't know what you'd call those, but there's side by side and legs. And what they go to is an LED strip that goes like this, that's put inside the prism, and it has 3 dots on it like that. One dot at the bottom means underexposure. The top dot, if it's lit up, is overexposure, and if it's a center dot, the exposure is perfect. So this is a manual camera, and you're adjusting your f-stops, and you're adjusting your speeds, and you're trying to get that middle dot there lit up. Now this wire here goes to your speed control, like so. And so you're setting your speed here, let's say it at 125, and it's a sunny day, and you're setting your f-stop at like f16. So you want to get that center dot right there lit up in this case. And then your exposure's perfect, and you can go ahead and take your picture. But this is a very small exposure setup or circuit, which is very handy for repairmen. Photocell here, and then of course you are looking through your eyepiece here. The photocell left and right take their reading off the prism, which is directly in front. We can't see it here, of course. Just pretending that's a chunk of glass there. And as you look through the eyepiece, you're also looking at through this prism. So the photocells are taking their reading from the prism. Not all cameras are like that. Some they put the photocell down in the mirror cage. I'm looking at the mirror cage here, and look, see if you can see that down here. But in some cameras, they put the photocells for the exposure down in the box like that. But on this particular camera, they take it, they put it on the prism, and they read it through the prism. One is not particularly superior to the other from the point of a camera repairman. Both are pretty close. Over here on this circuit board, we've got an adjustment pot here, got an adjustment pot here, and we got an adjustment pot here. 3 adjustments on there. The one that you're concerned about is right here. This right here adjusts the exposure for your camera. You don't adjust this one here, just leave it alone. And you don't adjust that one, you just leave it alone. One's for the battery check, and I forget what the other one is for. I don't script these videos, or fact check them for that matter. I repair cameras all day, so when I'm doing things like this in the evening, I've got to get going, and I don't want to spend more time on it than I have to. So that's pretty much it. That's for this particular image slide. This first slide is that I wanted to show you the exposure circuit. I'll get it here eventually. It's been a long day. The exposure circuit for the camera, which is over here. I don't know if you can see my pointer or not. And the rest of it, like I said, we're going to be looking at it in other images. So that's it for now. Let's move on. Okay, second image, top cover. Not much really here to teach you about. On some cameras it might be different, but on this one there's, like I said, this is my teaching series, and I want to take the time to have these images up and talk about them a little bit. You notice here along the edge there's no dings or bends, or that tells you the camera has not been dropped and that it's probably in good condition. Same way up here, when you look at the top, you see that it's not bent, say down, like maybe it's been dropped and hit from the top. The flash shoe looks like it's when it was new, and it has no dents on it. That's the main thing you want to watch for when you're maybe buying a camera at a camera show. You can tell how the customer that owned it previously used it, and by checking these two things, because normally if a camera's been abused, it's going to be in one of those two areas. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. All right, we're on our third slide here. I don't know, I'm probably going to lose count on all these. There's not much to show you down in here as far as teaching you something, but one thing I can teach you about is right here. Look at that red sealer they put around each screw. And you might say, well, why did they do that? Well, when I started repairing cameras in 78, a lot of the cameras that came in, these screws, draw an arrow there, had worked their way out and fallen down the camera and locked it up. And it was a pretty common occurrence, because when you think about it, these screws are pointing down toward the floor, you might say, when you're holding the camera, or the ground. And when somebody was putting a flash shoe on and off the camera, eventually it worked loose a little bit, and these screws started unwinding. They had nowhere else to go. Gravity, finally, they worked their way out, and they fell down inside the camera. And so the manufacturer started putting sealant on all the screws around the flash shoes, and where they would not put sealant on maybe some of the other screws. Nikon quite often will put a lot more sealant on their cameras than most of the others. Most of the others would just put the screws in, and that would be that. But Nikon, they charged more and they went a little bit further. I think most of the cameras put sealant of some type on the flash shoe screws. Sometimes they would put in the screws from the top, which then it was not necessary. But these screws falling down on the camera, I saw that a lot back in the 80s. And I had to go in and find the screw and put it back in the top cover. And then, of course, I would put sealant around all four of those to make sure it didn't happen again. But that's something to learn. Still to this day, it's been nearly 45 years, or maybe it's been 45 years. I hadn't counted it up. I will always stick my screwdriver in all four of these, and I will check them to make sure that they're tight, and then I will seal them. Even if they're already sealed, I will seal them. Put a little contact cement on each one to make sure they don't fall down into the camera. Okay, let's move on to the next image. Okay, we're at our next image. This is the mirror cage, and the this plate here is for mounting your lens. When I laid these out, I wasn't really thinking of teaching. Teaching was something that came later, so some of these images are not the best for teaching because they're not set up for it. But I can still show you a little bit, and in future videos I can even show you more. You probably can't see it, but right here there's some red paint. And that's a marker. I always mark all the cameras when I take them apart. And the reason being is because that is a marker, or a timing mark is what you'd call it. And the reason it's timed is this right here stud catches your lens, f-stop. So this ring is spring-loaded. So when you take the lens off, this stud will always come to this position. We could call that about 130. I don't think it's quite 2. We could call it, 130? And I can't write 30 too well. Let's do that again. I'm going to have to practice this. 30. Okay, 130. Excellent. I get an A. So when I am putting the camera back together, if I happen to disassemble this, I know that it's spring-loaded, that this stud here goes to 130, and that my timing mark, which I've marked with red paint, goes right here. And the timing mark engages the speed knob up here, which it wouldn't look that way because we're looking from the front, but that's what it's for. The important thing is for you to know that this gear here and the speed knob are linked to the stud over here. So when you're putting the lens on your camera, let's say that I don't even know what it would go to on a camera. I've done it so often I don't even think about it. But let's say you put your lens on your camera and it's set like at f16. Can I write f16? There we go. I may get good at this. Okay, and let's say you change it to a 5.6. Well, this little gear over here is going to turn, and when it does, it's going to change the setting on your speed right here that goes to your exposure meter. So you see how they're all linked. That's why I call this the teaching series. Instead of just taking a camera apart and putting it back together, and it doesn't really tell you what's going on, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm with this series trying to teach you what's going on. This you put the lens on your camera, you set your f-stop. It's spring-loaded to start here at 130. Counting on what f-stop you choose, it's going to turn this gear over here, and that gear is going to engage your speed control. And the speed control inside it has, I guess you'd call it a resistor ring inside that this will move. So when you're setting your speed, it's also affecting that resistor wheel. This gear here is affecting the resistor wheel, and it goes to your exposure circuit, which we talked about earlier. But in the future, I plan to plan this out a little bit more careful for this series. This is just a starting series, my very first one, so this one is not going to be as good as some that I'm going to make in the future. Here's a little window when you're looking through your prism. Tells you what f-stop your lens is at. And that's about all we can see from this side. Maybe one last thing I could tell you is that another way I check a camera to see if it's been abused or not is this plate here should be perfectly flat. And the lens should go on with a certain amount of resistance, but it never... it's going to be kind of hard to explain, but when you're putting on a lens, if it's really hard, then it gets easy, or if it's really easy and it gets hard, if it's acting weird, this plate here is probably bent. And what they did, let's see here if I can draw here. Drawing with a mouse is hard. There's your lens, there's lens, and there's the mount. Okay, let's say this is the lens, and let's say this is the mount, which is right here. And if they dropped their camera and it took a blow to the front, it's going to bend this mount right here. And you won't even notice it. I have tried. I've even laid metal rulers trying to find it, but this is one way I know if a camera's been abused or not, is by whether it has, this is totally flat. The lens mount is totally flat all the way around, and that the camera hasn't had any blows to the front, which pushes this slightly out of shape, very small. But you can feel it when you take the lenses on and off. And I don't know if any of that makes sense, but in future videos I'll explain it a little bit better and maybe learn how to draw with a mouse. Okay, let's move on to the next image. Okay, we're looking at the mirror cage now from the top side, which you can tell. This gear right here, you can even see the red paint is what we were looking at before from the front. And like I said, it's what turns. The speed knob or control mechanism is not in here. This little wheel right here goes on top of the I say on top, it's sandwiched in the speed control. And right here, and I'm drawing there, is a small disc with your speeds imprinted on them, 1 through 1000. So as you're turning your speed control, you're turning this brass disc here, and it's connected I don't know how well that's going to show up, by a string. Again, there's your string. You see it's kind of white. And so as you turn this wheel, trying to do it here. I don't know how well this is going to carry over. As you're turning this wheel, you're pulling or wrapping around the string around this wheel, or you're unwinding it, and you're turning this disc right here. And this disc is inside your prism where you can see it when you're looking through your eyepiece. So that's kind of what's happening when you're changing the speeds on an FM. You're turning up this brass wheel here, and it's changing this clear piece of plastic over here with the speeds imprinted on it, and you're looking at it and seeing it through your prism. And that's about all I wanted to show here. And even that's not that explained that well. It's very obvious to me because I've been working on it, but it may not be obvious to you. On a previous image or slide, I like to call them slides because that's what I'm used to, I told you that there was a window up front where you could see your f-stops. This is the mechanism here, or the bracket, that takes the view from the lens, flips it up here. There's a mirror right here. I think that's the mirror. It looks like it's the mirror, and reflects it into the viewfinder so you can see it when you're looking through the viewfinder. You look inside and you're seeing this mirror here, and this mirror is pointed down at the lens and is showing you what your f-stop is. I don't know. It's about the system of teaching. I don't know a better way to do it. I guess we'll just go with what we got here. Anyway, that's the end of this image. I'm going to do more FMs in the future and other cameras, so eventually, if you don't get it this time, you'll get it next time. Let's move on. Okay, we're at our next image. This form of teaching is good because the on a video, the subject matter is constantly moving, but in having still images like this, or slides as I like to call them, it gives me time to point things out and to draw and to show you things. Now this, if you look here, you'll see a slot cut in here that goes underneath the prism. Here's your prism, and underneath it, and you say, okay, what went in there? What went in there was that LED from the exposure circuit that I was showing you. It was one of the first slides I ever showed you. The LED goes right, slides right in there. And when you look through the viewfinder, that's what you're seeing, is you're seeing that strip. And it pushes right inside there. And so you can see your three dots, under, over, and dead on. Down here, kind of an unusual setup, not many cameras have this, is a brass tube, and inside it is a plunger. The plunger is right here, and when the mirror goes up, this arrangement here slows it down. Here's the mirror here, and that's felt on the back, so you can't see the mirror. Mirror's on top. And if this dampener, I guess you'd call it here, was not here, or governor, if you want to call it that, the mirror would hit the top and shake the camera, possibly cause you to blur your pictures at slower speeds, or I see slower speeds, or maybe at all time. I would say down to 30, 60. A mirror. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The mirror can also, on some cameras, it hits so hard it'll even bounce. And so it'll go up. The mirror will go up, and then it will bounce down a little bit, and then go back up again. And what happens is, when it does this, is it cuts off part of your picture. Would be dark, or maybe even cut off, all because the mirror bounced. Not on this camera possibly, but on some cameras. And this tube here, and this arrangement, I've forgotten how you want to call it, but this dampener slows down your mirror enough to where it does not bounce. And it also prevents the camera from blurring your picture at the slower speeds. You got to remember, when I'm discussing these and I'm teaching, I'm not talking just about the FN. I'm talking about all cameras. That's the whole point of the series. This is not entertainment. This is teaching, as if we were in a classroom. And I've got to tell you these little things as I remember them. So let's move on to the next image. Okay, we're next image. There's not much to see here on this one. I went ahead and included it, but there's really not much to see here at all. And I need to point here. Here is that dampener again, the brass tube with the plunger inside. There's probably a name for that, but I can't recall. I forget sometimes, happens at my age. But there's nothing else. This is a bottom view, by the way. These levers here, what do? Well, it's for charging the camera. Right here is where I manually charge the camera when I've got it outside the camera. I move this lever here forward because, of course, I have to check the mirror cage to make sure it's working properly. And when I move this forward, it locks, and then I can fire it. I don't fire it down here. The mechanism for firing it is over here. But this is how you charge it. We call charging the mirror cage. So that's about all there is to see in this picture. We can move on. Okay, we're at our next image, our next slide, which is not a slide. Anyway, comparing it, or not comparing it, carrying on from the last image we were looking at, you charge it over here. You move that forward. But I told you to fire it. That's not where you fire it. You fire it right here by moving that, I think, to the left. And how it's done is that when you press the plunger comes down and has a stud on it and moves this right here and fires the camera. And that's how I check the mirror cage, is that I charge it over here, but I fire it with this right here. Okay, what else do we have here? Here's that gear with the red paint on it that I showed you earlier on the camera that takes its, that gear changes according to your f-stops. And f-stops engage another wheel which is not present in this picture, but sandwiched in between is this brass wheel here, which has I showed you a string right here, which goes down to a disc, plastic disc right here, which shows your speeds in the viewfinder. In other words, you're looking through here and you're changing your speeds. On this brass wheel here is turning, and this string is shortening or lengthening, and it's changing this little plastic disc here, which has imprinted 1 to 1000. And what else is there here to look at? Up here is another kind of side view of the mirror that when you are looking through your prism, you're seeing this mirror here. A hole's cut in the, it's not a hole that's being cut, but they removed part of the prism mirror coating, and it hits this mirror, and then this mirror, and I think that's it right there, is pointed down at the lens f-stop. And all this makes very sense to me because I work on cameras. Maybe to you it doesn't. If you had an FM in front of you and it was in parts, it would make a lot more sense. But this is a teaching series, and I don't know what your level of expertise is with the camera. So all I can do is just show you these things and hope that you understand, or maybe in the future you'll get an FM and take it apart, and you'll see these things and you will understand what I'm talking about. I can't make one video to teach everybody how to work in these things. This is not an entertainment video. It's a teaching video. It's a classroom video. So anyway, bear with me, and we'll do the best we can together. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, the next image. I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to that. We're getting near to the end soon. I think we're like 3 images away from the end of this video. So, what are we going to look at today or now? This right here, again, a gear from a different view. That goes to the f-stop on your lens. Same as we explained before. The disc that controls your view controls the disc that nose itching controls the f-stop that you see in the viewfinder. Oh, let's see. I think I can. That rectangle there is probably kind of hard to tell, but I'm almost positive is the where the mirror coating is removed, and what we're looking at probably here is the mirror. It reflects down onto the lens f-stops that you're seeing, which is kind of an added benefit. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything else here to teach. Right here, I told you when I want to trip the camera, this is what I press, and I press it this direction right here, and it fires the mirror cage. And is there anything else here? Not really. Over here is the tube that dampens the mirror. The mirror, of course, is right here, and when it goes up, this tube here, this cylinder with the plunger inside, slows it down. And foam right here. Key is for light, not really for the mirror, but for keeping light out of the back of the camera. There's foam. Here's foam here again, which I've replaced for light and dust. Usually foam is for light or dust or both on a camera. This picture is kind of blurred. It's not too sharp, but when I took these, I didn't know I was going to do these series. I decided just to go ahead and start with some of these that I already had images of. I may have sent this camera back to the customer years ago, for all I know. I just pulled them out of storage and thought I'd go ahead and start with an FM. And that's probably enough in this photo. There's not that much more here. The further we go, the further we're actually seeing what we've already seen. The only thing I really find interesting is this up here, where we're seeing the mirror through the front of the back of the prism, which reflects up off the lens. If there was a lens on the camera, we could probably see the f-stop in that little rectangle. And I guess that's about it. Okay, let's move on to the next image. Okay, we've got 3 images left to look at. Kept this one first video short, although I don't know how short it's going to be, because I'm learning and I wanted to not make it too long. Okay, here's the picture. A image from the front. On one of the previous images, I showed you how on the mirror cage I would charge it and trip it. And how it's done is right here. When you are pressing down on this on the camera, you're moving this stud right here. It engages the mirror cage and moves that lever to the left and fires the mirror cage. Mirror cage has to be fired first on a camera because the mirror cage, the mirror has to go up and get out of the way before the shutter can be fired. What I was explaining to you before, again, this is a lever here. Most cameras have this, by the way. Have a when you're pressing down, you're pressing a long lever, and somewhere along the mirror cage, something is tripping it. And on this particular Nikon, it's this stud right here. So let's move on to something else here. This battery box here is made of plastic, and I've seen many of them crack and break because the inside, when you press your battery inside, it's pressing against the clip to stay tight and to make contact. And that constant pressure eventually cracks this plastic. So I've had to replace a lot of those. So I'm not only showing you how the construction of the camera, but showing you some of the problems I've had repairing it. So let's go ahead and clear those out of the way and move on to something else here. This shutter is modular. By modular, I mean it goes like this and like this and like this, up and here. And it's one piece. There's only 3 screws that holding in there and here, and 1 screw here about on the back side in the film compartment. You move those 3 screws and the shutter is free to move out. It won't just lift out freely. There'll be things holding it in, foam and maybe some glue, wires, but basically that it's modular in the sense that it'll lift out. You don't have to undo any of this those gears here, or the wheels, or undo any of the screws here to lift out this shutter. Like I say, there's one here, say one here, one here. Somebody who's an amateur might think, well, I need to undo all these screws to get it out. No, you don't. In fact, you want to leave it in place. You don't want to remove any of those. Get those out of the way. This shutter, or timer, I guess you call it a timer. The whole thing's a shutter. This right here is your timing mechanism, which controls the speeds that these blades here, when they, on this particular camera, it's a vertical. They go up and they go down. And this mechanism over here controls the speeds of these blades here. So I'll move those out of the way. Now these blades here can become damaged, and a lot of the cameras that I have worked on, people have touched them with their fingers, or for one way or another they've bent them, and then I have to take this modular shutter out, and I have to remove these blades and put in new ones and then reinsert the shutter. That's kind of how this works. It's good that it does. On earlier cameras, they didn't have this modular type assembly, and it made for a lot of work where you had to undo everything. But later they started making cameras more modular, partly to make them cheaper, and partly it also helped the camera repairman. So he only had to remove a few screws, pull it out, repair it, and then put it back inside. Because you rarely damaged your mechanism up, your timing mechanism. Usually if there was damage on a shutter, it was these blades here would get bent in one form or another. Or sometimes they could get dirty also if something gets spilled on them, coffee or a soft drink or something, in which case it had to be taken out and cleaned. Anyway, there's more to it here, but that's enough. Like I said, this is a beginning video classroom, and there's no point in making them any longer than what they are right now. So let's move on to the next image. Okay, we're getting close to the end. This is the second to the last one. Some of you will be glad, some won't. Anyway, here's the top view of the same modular shutter. As I showed you, there's a screw there, it's brass. Screw there, brass, and one on the back side, which we're not going to be able to see, that the whole thing lifts out. But like I said, there's glue and foam holding it, like there's foam and glue along here. And there's also foam here, which has to be removed. In fact, this foam here was replaced. On most cameras, it gets deteriorated and needs to be removed and replaced. So what else do we have here to talk about before we finish up? Right up here, And for me, it's easy to visualize. It may not for you. The brass wheel that I showed you earlier that connects to a string that's connected to the that plastic disc that you see in the viewfinder, the notches here and here, if you'll go back and look at the disc, or if you want to, you'll see it has some studs on it. They fit right in here inside those. So when I put the mirror cage in, and it's flush on the camera, the first thing I have to do is put that brass disc on top of this. This right here, this is a screw. Doesn't look much like a screw, but it's threaded. It backs out. Has to be removed. And I'll get it. It's getting late here, people. At night, the brass disc goes on top, and then this holds it down in place. And what else? Trying to look, but oh yeah, the battery. Here's the battery compartment again, which I showed you earlier, and I told you it does crack. That's one of the bad things about plastic, is plastic tends to get brittle. And there's 3 screws holding in this battery compartment. There's 2 there, and there's 1 back here on the back, I think. You can't see it though. But when I replace these broken battery compartments, I remove those 3 screws, put in my, I won't say new one because there are no new ones, but put in another battery compartment and screw those down. Pretty simple, really. And then here's the blades I told you that become bent for various reasons, and I do have to pull this out, this whole outfit, and to disassemble it. And you disassemble it from the back side, by the way. You don't disassemble it from the front. And put in new blades to it. And here's a view of that stud that I told you. When you are up here and you're pressing down this long pole here, this rod, this stud here is what engages your mirror cage and fires it. And there's more, but that's enough. We get on to the last slide and call it a night. Okay, we're on our last image. So what can I show you on this last image here before we call it a night? Let's start over here. Look at this. This is your plastic battery compartment. You can see it's shiny and plastic, and that's the trouble with plastic. Plastic is brittle or soft, usually brittle, and it breaks. And what I wanted to show you is this clip here. That your battery, when you put it in here and it's pressing this clip down, is applying pressure constantly to this plastic container here. And so over a time, it will crack, usually along the top here, but it could crack other places also, but it will eventually break. And I've replaced a lot of them. I can't think of any way not to break them. Possibly if they were cameras are stored in a place that where the temperature was 70 year-round and not too hot, they wouldn't crack like that. But that's just the nature of plastic. Plastic gets brittle and it cracks, and so the only reason I'm mentioning it in such detail is the fact that I've replaced so many of them, and you might have to replace yours. It's not even easy to tell sometimes. Sometimes you can't tell that it's cracked. The customer complained that the battery's in there, but the camera's not getting any current. And so I take off the cap and look down inside there, and everything looks normal because when you take the battery out, the plastic gap closes. So I usually get a probe, and then I'll press down here against this clip, And if this plastic compartment moves, well, then I know that it's cracked, because like I said, you can't always tell from this position as you can as if when the mirror cage is out. But it doesn't have to be much. The plastic can just have a crack in it and move down like 1/4 of an inch, and your battery will not make good contact. So what else here? What else was? The over here on the right hand side, this lever here goes up to the advanced lever that you have on the top side. This lever here has a stud in it right about here, which doesn't show up too much against that brass, but it's what charges the shutter. In other words, when you advance this wheel over here, and I don't even know which direction it goes here, it moves this lever back this way and moves the stud this way and charges your shutter. This right here on the, what am I trying to say? Right here is your self-timer. Those are plastic gears, unfortunately. There's another plastic gear. You can tell because they're white. There's also some metal gears in there, but those plastic gears, sometimes the teeth can get brittle and they can break off. The self-timer is not too hard to pull out. When you have the front of the camera off, you can undo a few screws and pull it out and put in another one. And that's about it, really. There's so much to cover, and this video is really long enough that I don't need to go any further. Okay, that's it. Let's go to the outro and call it a night. I never thought I'd be doing this series. When I started this channel, I thought everything would be videos. Never occurred to me that I'd be doing still images and drawing over them, explaining how the cameras work. But actually, they work out better than a moving video because they don't move, sit still, and I can draw on them. And started out with Photoshop and a mouse. Later, I may switch to a drawing program and a stylus. I don't know. I've tried some of that in the past, and I'm not very coordinated. I haven't had much luck with it, but we'll start out with this. The series is not made to be entertaining. It's made to teach. So some people will find it boring and tedious, and others will enjoy the time I take to pull up the still images and explain things and draw all the arrows and points and circles. I will do more of these, and I'll see how they go. With other cameras, and because I'm teaching, I don't know. I never had thought I would be doing this. I thought everything would be entertainment videos, not drawing on stills. Anyway, it's late and I'm tired and I'm rambling, and thanks for dropping by. Later.